When I got into gardening 4 years ago, I looked into buying a polytunnel, and they were incredibly expensive, £500 or £600. And I thought that you've got to a lot of grow your own. You're going to save a little bit of money with the vegetables you grow, but you're not going to save 600 quid. So I looked into whether or not you could make one out of bits and bobs, and looked on the internet. And I found instructions from these guys in Yorkshire about how to make a polytunnel from old water pipes. And the blue pipes you can see here are the water pipes. So I'll just crack on and show you how they did it. This is the kit you need. You need 50 meters of MDPE tubing, which is the standard water pipe tubing, and it's actually 50 millimeter diameter, not 5 millimeter. The polythene you can get from eBay, very competitive sources on eBay, and obviously all the other kit like fence posts, roof battens, scaffolding tubes, and cement. You can scavenge, and we live next to a farm, and the farmer was very kind enough to let us scavenge a few scaffolding poles and fence posts. We contributed to those, and that was great. But I priced all this up off the internet, and I think you can get all of those items for about £260 if you look around. So that's what the pipe comes in. And the polythene sheeting, if you search on eBay for polythene sheeting, there's lots of suppliers. And there's also, if you search on Google, there's lots of very competitive suppliers for polythene sheeting. And obviously, when people buy the professional, the commercial polytunnels, the sheeting only lasts for 4 or 5 years anyway, so they need to replace it. So there are lots of competitive suppliers of the sheeting out there. And I guess if you can get together with a few people and buy it together, you're going to get a discount, which makes it even better, because the main costs are the polythene sheeting and the MDPE tubing. So start off, these guys on in Yorkshire Allotment Society that I read about the instructions, they had a very good rule that they reminded me of for marking out the right angle, the old 3-4-5 rule. So our polytunnel is 15 foot by 20 foot, and if you mark out the 15-foot border, and then you get a 20-foot line and a 25-foot line and attach them to either end of the 15-foot border, and then draw the two lines together, put a peg in the ground. That'll give you a perfect right angle, this technique. And then from that you can mark out your 20 by 15. Next step is to dig a 1 foot deep trench on either side. And this trench is where you're going to bury the skirts of the polytunnel. And you also need to dig 2 foot holes where you're going to put your scaffolding poles, and you're going to postcrete those into those holes. And the MDP tubing that you saw is going to be cut to arcs and then inserted over the scaffolding tubes to give it a couple of foot of straight edge before it starts to curve. So you need to cut the scaffolding into 4 foot sections and postcrete them into those holes. And so it's just an illustration of the sort of hole that you need. This is mine in the garden, and I didn't. I think I made a mistake in going for raised beds, completely unnecessary, and they've been something that I wouldn't have done, and they increased the cost, because this material was quite expensive, and now after 4 years it's beginning to rot. What I would have done is actually just put a slabbed path down the middle and had much bigger beds on either side and more growing area. So you're looking at about, with the measurements that I'm going to supply, about a 9.5 foot high polytunnel. Yeah, good tip, do it on a dry day, because I did it on a wet day and had some problem with the posts when they were, the tubes when they were postcreted in, sort of beginning to move. Okay, so you've got your scaffolding tubes concreted into the holes at equal lengths along either side. They're 2 foot in the ground and 2 foot above the ground. You now need to cut 5 equal sections of MDPE tubing, which are going to form the arcs, and get those all in position. And that's obviously an area where there's potential for disaster. You don't want to be left with not quite enough for the 5th arc. So I took a lot of time on that, and there was almost disaster, but it worked out. Okay, now it's all about making the entrances. So what we did here was getting two 10-foot fence posts and concreting them in again, and then making them on the inside of the last hoop. So if the last hoop is here, you're on the inside of the polytunnel here, you have the fence post coming up the inside, and then you fix it with a screw through the fence post, sorry, through the hoop on the outside into the fence post, and then once it's there and secure, you cut the fence post off so it's slightly beneath the tubing, because you don't want the polytunnel to be snagging on the top of the fence post, because that's obviously a sharp surface. A good tip is to then get some plastic sheeting and bind it around the top of the fence post just to protect it from cutting the polythene. This is just some of the calculations for how much polythene you need, and you basically need 10.5 for the 15-foot wide by 20-foot long polytunnel. You need to buy 10 meters by 10.5 meters of polythene, and it comes in rolls that are 11 meters long. So that's the perfect length. So obviously, get your polythene out of its bag, drape it over the structure, and this is a two-person job. And at one end, what you do is you secure the polythene at the other end with we use buckets full of water, you want something heavy to weigh it down. And then at the end that you're working on, you gather it all in, you cut out any excess. You can see the sort of gathering marks that you've got. And a good tip is that when you're arranging this plastic, you want the folds to be going down, so if the folds are up, they collect water. And you'll see from a picture in a minute that I didn't do this with mine, and it has collected water, and it's sort of growing little ecosystems within each fold. So all the folds pointing down and overlapping down so the rain washes off them. You then, so we've cut the slack away there, cut the excess away rather. You then make a little flap at the top, and we're going to use a batten, a small piece of wood, a roofing batten, to put on this material and roll it up, and then on the inside of the frame, secure that with nails to the frame. And once you've done one end in this position, go around to the other end, pull it really tight. It's a two-person job. Get some good tension. Not too much tension, because you'll see that I squashed the top of our polytunnel because I put too much tension on, and it's created some extra. It's not quite perfect in that respect. So once that's the flap being tacked up onto the inside frame, you then cut slits into the corner, and you repeat that process, and you from one end to the other repeat that process until the door is. Until all the polythene is tacked back, and you've really at that point got something which looks like a functioning polytunnel. The skirts are, or that's just an illustration of the batten that you're rolling up, and it's quite a good technique is to get the tension, and then to have the edge of the batten against the frame, and then lever it in place, and it creates that last little bit of tension. Then you can secure it through with nails or screws. So that's my door. And you can see that I have, unfortunately, got the folds going up instead of down. So, and you can see, it's sort of collecting rain here. And I did squash it too much at the top by pulling it down. So that's, very quickly, that's, ours cost 260 quid, and I had a lot of fun making it. And it's been there for 4 years. We've produced, every year it's been busy. This year we've had just enormous amounts of raspberries. The raspberry plants in the middle are doing fantastically, and the kids have really enjoyed those. This is the cheapest I could find on the net, a professional polytunnel, exactly the same specification, is £510 plus shipping. So there is some saving there, and also it's a lot of fun to make it.